My name is Jim Kleiber and welcome to Science in the Valley. Today's Science in the Valley, it's a special episode because you're at my home and I have my two grandchildren. We have William.
Hello.
And Isabel.
Hi.
And they're going to help me demonstrate slime and a whole bunch of other scientific activities. So, hope you enjoy the show and we'll start.
My name is Isabel and we're going to show you some science experiments today. And I'm William.
Do you guys do science experiments with your grandpa a lot?
Yes, yeah. That's all we do when we're here. It's very fun.
Which experiment are we going to be doing today?
Making slime. And we just recently got pigment, so that will be fun to use in the slimes. And we'll be doing some other stuff downstairs. Yeah.
Excellent. Perfect.
So, just a little word about slime, the chemistry of slime. Here we have some clear glue. And clear glue is made up of long chains of carbon and hydrogen. And normally those chains slide across each other very nicely. When glue dries, the water between those chains dries up and they tend to stick together and stick to anything that's near them. Thus you have a glue. Well, if you add an activator like Tide, a laundry detergent, it makes little ions that go in between those molecules and causes them to stick together. And now those molecules tend to stretch, and thus you get slime.
So the first step to making slime is adding the glue. There is no measurements with glue. However much glue you add is how much slime you're gonna get, but you're gonna get a little more than the glue you have because you're adding more things. You can either use clear glue, glitter glue, most glues work. And then you just pour it into a bowl. Typically you want a pretty large bowl. That's the first step. So step 2, it depends on how you want your slime to be. If you want it to be fluffy, then you would add shaving foam, or like shaving cream, shaving foam. But if you don't want it fluffy, then you could add water if you want it to be jiggly, and then so it's like watery kind of, and it jiggles, and we have that here. And you can either do those two things or just do nothing if you just want it to be basic slime.
But the shaving cream will make it white.
Yes, if you have clear slime, the shaving foam will make the slime white, so
it won't really help.
Yeah, it'll make it fluffy, so that's step 2. You start with little amounts of water and then stir it until it's completely smooth, and it will create bubbles in the slime. And then once it's a little less thick and you're happy with the consistency, then you can just stop adding water and add whatever else you want to add. Step 3 is when it gets fun. So now you can add all the glitter, the foam beads, the pigments, whatever you want, and you can do however much you want. But with pigment, typically you only use a tiny bit because it's very strong and it will like totally color it, and it's not cheap. So you don't want to use a lot of it. You can add glitter glue at this time too. It won't make it as like rough as with just plain glitter and like coarse glitter like this. They'll flow better into the slime because it's glue, so they'll kind of be better. And then you just mix it in, and you want to get all, and I most likely will need more, but I'm going to start with a very little bit because if you do too much, there's no going back. You just want to get all the chunks out. And its pigment, again, is very powerful. So don't add too much, because once you add it, you can't take it away. So, and see how shiny that is? It makes it look super pretty.
I'm not the star of this show, the kids are. And the most important thing in science is let the kids do it. It's hands-on. It's the best way to learn science. So get your hands dirty and get in. So here they are.
The reason you don't want a lot of chunks is, one, it will feel weird, and two, your hands will end up like this.
So Isabel, is it
Yes.
important to make the really even to start pretty hard to get all? I can see in Williams,
Definitely.
it seems like there's different colors that are in there.
Yes, you want to try to make it as much, like, not as,
Most consistent?
yeah, as you can, because that means it's basically fully mixed in.
Okay, all right. So William, looks like you got a little more mixing to do.
Yeah, I think mine's okay, but like with pigment, it's gonna layer, so it's gonna be shiny more in different spots. So I think William's almost done. I think I'm okay.
The pigment lets it shine more in different spots?
When you layer it, it will shine like stronger in spots.
Wow.
Like with it. And doing swirl things. Are cool.
It's kind of a pearl effect.
Yeah, it's like pearlescent.
Yeah.
If now would be a good time to add more water if you wanted to, or shaving foam, but I don't want to add it either because it's pretty liquidy already. If you weren't satisfied before, and now, like, since you added stuff, it's kind of firmed up a little bit more. So you can pretty much add whatever you want now except activator. Yeah, this isn't working as planned. I love glitter.
Don't add all of it.
Why not?
Because I want to use some.
There. I went a little overboard with glitter, but I love my glitter, so. Reminds me of like snowy ocean, and you want to really mix it in so it's smooth and even and it's just nice to play with. And it will make bubbles because the air underneath, it's like if you let it sit, the bubbles will come up, which is the air that's underneath it, because you're trapping it once you do that, and then you're getting air in there. And so that's all. Are you done with?
Well, one other thing. If you make clear slime with just clear glue, which to make it completely clear, you'll have to wait a couple of days before it actually loses all the bubbles and it becomes completely clear.
Yes, like my slime here, it was completely clear, but after playing with it, I let it sit and it's creating a bottom layer of clear, and then this is all bubbles, and these are the foam beads I added right up there.
Foam balls.
Foam balls, whatever.
If you look at, you've got a liquid down here and you've got the foam and all the beads up here. Well, sometimes people wonder why they're constantly getting rocks in their garden. Well, the ground freezes not from when it thaws from the bottom up. And so when the rock freezes, the water expands, pushing the rock up. But when it thaws from the bottom up, and a little bit of dirt gets in behind the rock, and the rock tends to get pushed up a little bit. Well, these beads are lighter than the foam itself, so buoyancy, there's a constant force pushing them up. And so here you can see, just like the rocks in the garden, all the beads are sitting on top.
It's time to add the activator right over here, and we're just storing it in a sorbet jar that is very good, by the way, not sponsored. And so I don't need a spoon, I'm just gonna dump it in. And I guess I'll use a spoon
Just for
But
weird purposes.
You really, at the beginning, since I have a lot, you want to get a good spoonful, but you really don't need that much at the beginning because it's also strong like the pigment. So, and then
We're using a tablespoon.
it doesn't matter how much you use.
You just use
You just use until and like it's already forming because of it's making the molecules like stick together instead of rubbing, sliding off, like sliding with each other like glue. It's getting all clumpy. But when you do this, you want to make sure you get all, like you want it to be completely like not just one blob and then the rest liquid. You want to keep stirring until it's all one substance, and then you can add more activator. And we're using Tide, which is just a laundry detergent, that you can, and you could also use borax with water to dissolve it. But borax is, I've heard it's dangerous because it can burn you or something. So I like to use Tide. And once you're done with this, you're pretty much done with your slime, unless you want to add more water. If you add water, by the way, it will be less stretchy, but it will be more jiggly. So just beware of that. William, how's your slime going?
pretty good.
What happens if you add too much activator?
It just rips.
It's very stiff, and it's like, I got this. This is a good example. Can you hold this there for a second? I got this Play-Doh stuff, and it's dried out, and this is how it will kind of be. It won't be as crumbly, but it will be all stiff, and you can barely mold it, and it will just like look like garbage. But you can add water, and I did that with this yellow one here, and now it's not as crumbly. I let it sit out for too long, but it will get smooth, like much better than this one, which is all just crumbles. So that's kind of like with slime, but just a bit different consistency. And now I have to clean this mess up.
So the ideal slime, right, is something that you want it to be slime, you want it to flow, and you don't want it to stick to your fingers. Is that an ideal slime when you get to that point?
Yes.
Yes, but another way, if you're mixing and you don't want to get slime all over your hands, I saw this in dip your hand in it, rub it around, and then
It makes a mess.
and then when you go in, there's much less left over on your hands because it's the activator, and then you can mix it without getting your hands super dirty and gooey. But I mean, it will get gooey no matter what, but it's helpful. And see how there's bubbles all in it? And look at the color difference from it because I've played with it and all the bubbles have formed. It doesn't look as pretty right now, but in my opinion, but after a little while it will become clear. And if you just let the bubbles rise up, and then it will happen again. It will as you play with it, but I mean, it's just how it works. I've looked on so many videos, but none has suggestions for keeping it clear. It's not possible. So that's why you really want to try to get it to look good when it's bubbly. So clear does look cool, but it doesn't last very long.
Well, after you have your slime, if you're not happy with it, you can always just keep adding ingredients. Like I might add a little more pigment.
So William, can you tell us about how the slime got in your hair? I'm just curious.
Well, I thought it'd be fun to make a headband.
Out of slime.
Yeah, and put it on his head, and
You
then
wrapped it around your head
yeah.
and it didn't come off.
Yeah, and then he walked home, and then we missed the bus, of course, and then we had to drive to school late because of you.
Well, actually, you could have taken the bus, but you chose not to.
I wanted to see you get your hair cut off.
So technically, it's also your fault.
Okay, this isn't about this. So, warning, when you're playing with slime, be cautious with your hair, valuable items, clothes, or anything you want to keep.
So slime is what they call a non-Newtonian fluid. Water, when you put your hand, when you go to push your hand through it, it just moves out of the way. However, slime doesn't. It's harder to push your hand through it. And the harder you push, the harder it gets. So that's why they call it a non-Newtonian fluid, because it's so different from water.
I take my time when I'm doing slime.
So you can see how Isabel's hands look and William's hands look. This is how Grandpa's hands look. So clearly they have a touch that I don't have.
That was slime time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.